You have to become the top 1% in every single thing you do in your business, right? Forget about this whole concept of hiring people who are better than you. There's one perfect example. You go to a car mechanic, he's better than you. He understands the car, you don't understand shit about the car. How many times you get scammed at the car mechanics? Every single time, right? This is what's gonna happen to every single piece of your business. So you have to basically become a mechanic, as good as a mechanic in every single part of your business. Now, you don't need to be doing it, right? You just need to know it so well that you can hold everyone accountable. And how do you get there? You're like, okay, shit, I gotta get good at sales, marketing, fulfillment, client success, operations, finance, recruiting. This is my advice for everyone. If you do this, bro, you're gonna scale.
Welcome back to Growth Lab Sessions. I'm Joao, CEO of Stealth White Label Agency, and my mission is simple: to help marketing agencies grow and build sustainable success. And today marks the beginning of something new. We're evolving the show into a new format that's more practical, actionable, and more valuable to agency owners, where every guest is gonna join us and teach a free mini class on the topic that they've mastered, proven frameworks, actionable strategies that you can implement right after the episode. Because Growth Lab has never been about inspiration alone, it's about real-world experiments that actually work. And to kick off this new format, we've got the perfect guest. He's a world-class entrepreneur, burner, jet setter, lives a fitness lifestyle, a husband, and a stand-up guy. He's also a fighter, ladies and gentlemen. He is the CEO of Trivium Group, founder of Go Hard Work and MDW.Miami, one of the sharpest minds in Amazon growth. But today, he's not here just to talk about ads or scaling. He's here to teach something that most leaders definitely overlook. But every high-performing company needs culture index. So grab your notes and lock in, because we're gonna kick things off with Mina. Mina, are you ready to take it to the lab?
I'm ready, bro, I'm ready.
All right, awesome. Thank you for jumping on. It's super exciting to have you here and talk more about the culture index, but give us a little bit of a background. How did you get into the culture index and what is it?
Yeah, so to give people context, I own on Trivium Group, right, which is Amazon marketing agency, classic digital agency, and we have about 90 employees in the company. And then I have employees in my other businesses as well. Now, I was talking to one of my friends, and he consults me. He's ahead of me, right? He does 20 million a year in revenue, and I kept explaining. I'm like, dude, I have this issue, that issue, this issue. That he's like, dude, 100% of your problems right now stem from you having the wrong people, and it's because you're not using the culture index. He's like, if I could put you onto anything, it's gonna be the culture index. I'm like, okay, what is this culture index? He's like, just trust me. He's like, it's a personality survey. I know, people talk about the DISC and this other stuff. He's like, this is like nothing like you've ever seen before. And so he connects me with the guy. The way that the culture index works, by the way, it is a patented technology. So the people who created it, they basically created this algorithm that can up to 91% accurate, predict the behavior of a person. Now, they patented that technology. It's obviously a software algorithm, whatever, and then they franchised it. So, the guy I got connected with is a franchise owner. So basically, this franchise owner, he learns it, masters it, and then he starts to sell it to people like me who use it. And so he connected me with the guy, and then the guy's like, okay, cool. He's like, you're gonna love the culture index. Like, before we even get on a call, here's a link. Give this to 20 of your employees. And let's get on a call. And he's like, I want you to give it to different levels. Do management, do people under them, above them, etc., including you. Perfect. I give it to the people, these people he's never met in his life. We get on a call. And he's like, okay, let me show you how this works. Let's open up Natalie, for example. He's like, Natalie is like this, she's like that, she's stressed out, she sometimes is like this, sometimes like that. When you tell her this, she acts like this. When you tell her that, she acts like that, right? I'm like, fuck, bro, yes, you're right. He's like, yeah, and by the way, she's probably going to quit soon. I'm like, okay, on to the next one. He's like, oh, this person, well, this is amazing right-hand person to you, and he doesn't even know anything about them. It's like, this is a perfect right-hand person. They do this, they act like this. Every time you give them something, they ask it like this. I'm like, bro, how the fuck is this guy he knows my team as good as I know my team. I'm like, how? And then he predicted a bunch of things. This person is gonna quit. This person is gonna, like, their boss is gonna burn out, or this person is gonna replace their boss. All of these different things, and bro, literally in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it all came true. I'm like, okay, I'm a believer. Let's do this shit. So I get back on a call with him. I sign up. Culture Index is a predictive survey for personality. So you fill out the survey. And you were an agency founders. I did the whole thing. This is what it tells you about a person: their drive. So how driven they are, like how driven, competitive they want to win. Like drive, like let's go. Versus passive. Like if you don't tell them to do something, they're not gonna do it. The people, like there's a like, let's say a house manager. There's a plate sitting there. They're not gonna pick it up if you don't tell them, hey, go pick up the plate. It's like, oh, I didn't know that you want me to do that. You know what I mean? Like that's a low drive person. Then there's social, like the social one. Low social is introverted. So introverted people, they get drained from human interaction. Now listen, all of us get drained from bad human interaction. Like I'm sure if you spend 4 hours on a boat with a bunch of bums, even if you're extroverted, you're gonna hate your life, right? But this is more like, some people are like I spend a weekend with great people. Like for example, me and my wife, bro. Me and my wife will spend the weekend with amazing people. At the end of the weekend, I'm fired up. At the end of the week, she's like, yo, I need a day to like completely decompress, like leave the house. Like, you know what I mean? So that's the difference. Now, not only that, but extroverted people, so high social, let's not call them extroverted. They're extroverted, but they have this craving for social energy. So they really care about like being seen by other people. They really care about being told they're amazing and like, this bullshit, right? So a lot of the attention seekers are like that. Then you have patience. So this is not a good patience, right? Low patience are people who like to move fast. They can handle chaos. They get shit done. So when you have a high drive, impatient person, amazing combination for agency. And then when you have a patient person, this is someone that is very like methodical, gets one thing done at a time, can only move on to the next thing if they finish one thing. And when you get an introverted patient combo, dude, if you interrupt them, their day is destroyed. So you need to basically communicate, like communication with introverted people, always text. Communication with extroverted people, talk. Extroverted people will talk and like this is me. I talk to solve my problems. Every day I go on a walk with my wife. She lets me blabber and I'm solving all my business like problems. You know what I mean? And I'm like, dude, this was an amazing talk. And she's like, I didn't say a single word, bro. This is all you. And then after that you have detail. So detail and follow through. Low detail people, they don't pay attention to details. They don't have a lot of follow through, and like the rules are very are optional for them, right? They're non-conforming. High detail people are conforming. They like to follow the rules. They have very high attention to detail. Like think your COO or your accountant needs to be very high detail. Now there's also relationships. I'm a high drive, high detail person, but my drive is much more than my detail. So I'm pushing. Eddie, for example, he's a business partner in one of my businesses. He's high drive and low detail. So he's way better than me at sales and marketing, but like he leaves a path of destruction behind him. Not destruction, but you know what I mean, right? And so that's why you really need a very strong COO with these people, because they need to constantly like say, dude, we're missing the details, fulfillment's an issue, all this kind of stuff. So it gives you this information. Then it gives you two other pieces of information, or three other pieces. One is logic. So high logic, I can tell you, like, Joao, you're a high logic guy. I can say, listen, bro, your podcast sucks. You speak bad, and I think you need to do X, Y, and Z, and you should talk to this guy. High logic people, dude, thank you so much for that feedback. I appreciate it. This is going to make me better. Low logic people, high emotional people, oh my God, bro. Especially when you have a high logic and a high social person who they crave that human validation. They crave validation. If you tell them one thing like, dude, I think you should do this differently, oh my God, their feelings are hurt, right? Immediately. So we avoid anyone that's low logic or high emotions. And then I, which is inventions. So, and I'll show you guys all of this in a chart. So inventions is like how many ideas do they get a day of new stuff? Like, and I'm talking inventions, not innovation. So like you could look at my agency and be like, wow, Mina's doing this. I'm gonna take it and make it better and great. That's not inventions. Inventions is like creating nothing, something from nothing. And so the only thing really we need to pay attention to is like when you have someone who's like a level 8 or 9 or 10 on the inventions, they have too many ideas in their head and it's gonna affect their work. And then the final piece is energy units. So energy units is the ability to go against your nature. If you have someone with high energy units, let's say 60, 70, let's say they're an introverted person, but they're a CSM. CSM probably needs to be extroverted. They're on calls all the time. They can do it. If they have a lot of energy units, they can go against their nature. Now, the key here is you want to get the job and the person's nature to align. So you start with the job and you say, okay, CSM, let's go through this, right? What does a CSM need? CSM needs to be high drive, of course, very proactive. They need to be extroverted, drive more than extroversion because you want them to care more about winning than people's feelings. But, they need to be a social person that can talk and they don't get burned out from talking. You need them to be impatient, can handle chaos because they're nonstop putting out fires. And you need them to be detailed, not super detailed, but detailed enough that they're not missing details when it comes to their clients. Now, probably the person assisting them will be similar, but higher detail, right? Because they need to then take the ball from them and actually drive it to completion. So
Cool.
their detail should be ahead of their drive, right?
Mina,
So, yeah.
Let me recap a little bit. So just for me to understand, right? The culture index is essentially a way to map out the qualities of somebody, to gauge what role would fit them best, or to
If they're
see
good
if
fit or
the
not.
role that you're hiring for is the right role for that type of personality that your candidate has, right? So it's kind of like a monkey will climb a tree really well, but an elephant won't. And so you
Exactly.
don't want to put an elephant to climb trees all day. You want to put a monkey to climb trees all day, right? You want to put people to perform in a job that's going to highlight their abilities as opposed to get in the way of their job. So the culture index helps you identify if the candidates will work for whatever role you want them to perform because you already know what that role entails, right? You already know the other colleagues that this person is going to be working with. So the culture index is a way to kind of have an x-ray and see, is this person going to succeed in the job or not? Is this correct?
Exactly. So
A quick break in the podcast to tell you about Stealth, my white label marketing agency. If you're an agency owner and feeling stuck in fulfillment, hiring, and team management while trying to scale, this is for you. Stealth helps agency owners like you take fulfillment off your plate so you can focus on growth of your agency, from running ad campaigns and SEO to creating high converting content and managing CRMs. We handle the back end for your clients so you don't have to. Whether you're drowning in client work or struggling to scale your agency, Stealth gives you the support you need to scale without the headache. And if that sounds like a fit, then check out our website link in the description and book a time to speak with a consultant. And now back to the pod.
Exactly what you said, right? So you start with the role, you build what the role needs, then you find candidates that have the culture index that match that role, and also everything else, the skills, the experience, and the personality fit, right? Like if I find someone with an amazing culture index, which I have, amazing experience, but everyone in the company hates them, I'm sorry, you're fired. We just did that for one of our roles. So that's number one. Number two, which is plays also a very big role, is what's that person's culture index and the people around them. So me and my wife, for example, we had so many issues because we have the exact same culture index, except she's introverted, I'm extroverted. And I'm like, go, 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 friends, travel. I'm like, every time I'm alone, I'm like, hey, I just invited 4 people to the pool. Hey, let's host some people. And she's like, bro, no, like stop. And she was getting super burned out. And then I would walk into her office And I would blurt, I'm like, hey, we need to start doing this thing on YouTube. Let's do it. And she's like, dude, like, shut up. Like, send this to me in a Slack message. I'm like, yo, I'm your boss. What do you mean send me in a Slack message? And then after the culture index, I realized she's introverted, which means she can't absorb words. She can absorb writing. And that's when I realized, okay, she gets burned out by doing the social stuff. I get fueled. We need to find a way to make this work. And at the same time, when I'm giving her things, I need to give it through text versus through verbal communication, because that's how she absorbs her information. And so, like, again, with the example of Eddie, right? The perfect combination is you have someone like Eddie, master at sales, and that's what they do. They just drive. Like sales, they don't worry about the details. Then you have me in the middle as a builder. So I take that stuff and I architect it to put it in a good system, and then I bring what we call a tech expert or whatever, like someone who's higher detail than me, and then they work that system and perfect it and make sure that it runs day to day, right? Because I'll get bored of the day to day. Like anyone who's higher drive than the detail will get bored. High detail than drive, they don't get bored. They thrive in that continuous, systematic stuff. So understanding that, that's why I'm like, when I meet with any business partner, I look at their culture index. Okay, I know my business partner in the med spa, his detail is low, but his like creativity and his like marketing capability is very high. So I'm like, listen, we're gonna get on calls, we're gonna work together. You do all your stuff and talk, because he's also an extroverted, and I'll absorb it all, put it into a nice system, architect something good, and then pass it on to a team who can continue to run with it. So that's the power of the culture index. Is number one, for your existing business, understanding, okay, let's map out the whole business. Let's put out the org chart. What does each role need, and who's right now in that seat, right? Now, start with the people that are causing problems. Like, we have this person, like they're always missing this, or they're that, or whatever. Like they constantly say they're burnt out. Let's check. This is what the role needs. This is what they are. Okay, this makes a lot of sense. This person is an introvert and very low detail, and he's doing an extrovert high detail role. That's why this person is burning out all the time. We need to replace this person. We don't need to fire the person. He's just in the wrong seat. So if this is a very good person and we can find a better role for him, where there's going to be his personality and the role match, harmony, right? But when the personality and the role don't match, there's like destructive. It's like constructive.
It's not good for either way, right? It's not good for either party, right?
Exactly.
It's like
exactly.
They're not going to be fulfilled, and they're not going to be doing a good job. And so it's good for maybe like rotating roles, right? So if you have somebody that you value a lot, but it's not working out, this is an opportunity to do the culture index and move them to a role that makes more sense. Now, let's step back a little bit, Mina, because I'm super curious. I think that level of consciousness to understand who you are, right? How you do things, who you like to work with, the company you want to create, that seems like a lot of just awareness of who you are, of self-awareness. Were you, before the culture index stuff, were you already into like reading people and trying to understand like their personalities, things like that? Like, how did that come about in terms of, being so tuned in with people's personalities?
It's actually the opposite. So I hate reading people. For me, it's like dating, and I gotta get to know you. I'm a zero emotion guy, very fast mover, no patience. I don't want to get to learn you, especially like when you have 90 people in the company. Like, I don't want to spend time learning you and all this shit, dude. I don't have patience with that. I have no emotions. I'm very unemotional. So I hated that aspect. And when the culture index came, I'm like, wow. Now I have numbers. I have a system. I have numbers. I have data that I could just apply. And dude, I'm telling you, every single time I've stuck to the culture index, it's worked. And every single time I've gone against it. So there's been times where like we're in the final stages of the interview. We're newly implementing culture index. I'm like, dude, this guy, I have a very good feeling, all this bullshit, but the culture index, whatever. Let's skip the culture index, man. Come on. Like every single time, failed.
Wow.
And it was predicted by the culture index. It was predicted, like, dude, I hired a sales girl, and again, like we spent the whole week together, and I'm like, dude, this girl is really good. I like her style, her ability, how she talks, She was very low detail. My COO said, Mina, this is going against the culture index. I'm like, I know, like, let's just give her a shot. Failed. Every
Wow.
single time. Every single time. So for me as an engineer, a logical person who doesn't have the patience to get to learn people and all this stuff. And listen, I'm sure that this is a detriment to me. I'm sure that by me not having the patience to learn people and build rapport, and it's weird, right? Because like when you see me in agency founders, you're like, I would have never thought that, but because you're friends with so many people and you talk to so many people and you know, because that's, you know, when I'm doing it for fun, right? When I'm doing it and I know you and I know, you know, your wife is a DJ and all this stuff, like, cool, like I'm enjoying that. But when I'm doing it for employees, I'm like, bro, this is miserable, bro. I gotta get on calls with you. Like I'm already on a billion calls. I gotta get more calls and build more rapport. I'm like, you know what I mean? For me, it was draining, and I just didn't have it in me. And so when I got this data-driven approach, I'm like, wow, this is sent from God.
Yeah. So that approach came in to solve a lot of your problems internally, right? To make people more, to make people better in their jobs, to make make them perform, so you can get on with your work, scale your business. That's what you want to do, right? Now, in terms of like some bottlenecks, I'm assuming that you have to get really specific with your hiring, right? You're not only qualifying for technical abilities, you're also qualifying for personality traits now. So your filters have gone like way higher. Now, how does that make hiring harder or easier?
Yeah, it makes it insanely harder. So, number one, 90% of recruiters don't want to work with you anymore because they're like, I sent you this good person, and you're like, bro, I don't even need to have a conversation with him. His culture index is bad, but he's amazing. Look at his experience. I'm like, brother, I've gone through this. Like, no, I'm not gonna even interview him. So 95% of recruiting companies don't want to work with you. And then let's say that on average you used to get 100 candidates and then one of them would be good. Now you need at least 2,000, 3,000 candidates and one of them is good. So it really disqualifies so many people because again, not only are you looking for experience and skills and all this stuff, you're also now looking for very specific. I'm not looking for this personality or this. No. It's one. Like there's so many different, like, you know, think about the number of variables. Drive, social, patience, detail, and logic. So 5, right? The other 2, most people pass. Energy units, most people pass. So you have 5. You have now 5 criteria that they have to pass. So you can have someone that's high drive, you know, extroverted, low detail. If the one thing doesn't pass, he's disqualified. So the filter becomes so high, it becomes exponentially difficult to hire. But if you think about it, it saves you much more time and money in the long term because it costs way more money for the wrong hire. When we were taking the course, it's like on average, the wrong hire costs you like $250,000. You know what I mean? Maybe it's less if we're hiring like from Brazil or whatever. But again, you get it, right? Like the cost of recruiting the wrong person, training the wrong person, all the lost revenue by having the wrong person versus being patient, 10xing your recruiting efforts, and then finding that right person. Once you have that right person, it's exponential in terms of like the benefit to the company. And so, yeah, recruiting is much harder, but it pays off 10 times more than doing it the old-fashioned way.
Now, you also have, you teach a lot, right? You have your YouTube channel. You talk a lot about Amazon, how to scale on Amazon, and you really know your business inside out in terms of running your agency, in terms of being an entrepreneur, a manager, and also all of the technical abilities to succeed on Amazon, correct? Do you train these, like, do you think about sometimes like, okay, maybe I won't hire for experiences. I'll take it down on the experience criteria, but I'll keep the culture index because I know that I can put these people through my own training program and get their technical abilities to go up for like specific roles. So you make it easier for yourself. Like, do you do things like that? How do you approach that?
Yeah, so a very good question. So this is one thing I did actually very early this year is I built a university inside of the agency. So every single time I talk and teach anything, it's recorded and it's added to like our university, right? And one thing I was like, let's do this, right? Like, so I said, let's hire 3 or 4 amateurs and I'm gonna break down a curriculum of every single thing that you need to succeed on Amazon. Recorded everything, I dumped everything, and I created quizzes and tests. It was exactly like a university program. Put people in, amateurs, got them out, it did not work that well. When did it work? We had someone that came in who was like maybe at a lower level. So not entry level, but maybe like 1.5 years experience or something. So they were still doing the job good enough. When I added that, it took them from like, a 1 year experience to like a 4 year experience. You know what I mean? It really leveled them up. But that 0 to 1, I was not successful. There was too much experience to deal with people and to do this and to do that I could not really teach, right? Because I can teach someone who has a little bit of experience, a lot of things to make them have a lot of experience. And just to give you an example, some of the best companies in the world, on average, they have 200 hours of training in the first year. Most companies right now, I'm sure you talk to any company, they have like 10, 15, 20 hours max of training to their new recruits. And then they're like, okay, you're off to the races. Really, 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 like the top companies, when they were surveyed, there's a book called Scaling Up by Varnish.
The best book ever. If you're listening to this, read Scaling Up. Like, that is one of my favorite books.
It's one of the top. 4 Disciplines of Execution and Scaling Up, 2 top books that every business owner should read. And he says that the top companies in the world have 204, something like that, hours of training in the first year. And so I'm like, you know what, dude? Why are we not doing that? And so that's when I adopted. I said, okay, because here's what's going to happen is I'm not going to bring like someone that's like a piece of metal and then make them into a sword in the first year. But I'm going to bring someone who's like a dull sword and make them into a samurai sword in the first year. And so that's kind of the difference. It's like, yes, I know where you're coming from, right? Because I know that what you have going on in Brazil. For me personally, I haven't cracked it. And again, this doesn't mean that it doesn't work. It's because of the nuance of, think about this, right? My people are managing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month for brands. It's their livelihood. You know what I mean? Like these brands. So it takes a lot. Like you need to be able to instill confidence in those people. So maybe on the technical aspect, I was able to train them enough, but that ability to stand in front of you and say, don't worry, I have a plan. This is what you're going to do. There was a gap there, and I wasn't able to bridge it. But when I took these people who, they're comfortable, they've been having these conversations, and then I'm like, inject them with insane amounts of knowledge and continuous training. Now, when they're having these conversations, the people are like, these guys know what they're talking about, So yeah. That's where the university comes in. I haven't been able to crack it on the low level, but on the mid level, definitely.
Dude, I love your drive, and I love how many things you test and like how well you see things through. It sounds like you've tested so many different things in terms of, getting your employees to perform to the level of execution that you want them to be performing for your clients and the results you want to be generating. So I'm definitely pumped to like see the culture index live, because I'm so excited, and I think the audience is as well. So let's get into it, man. Going. Yeah.
Okay, so let's do Eddie as an example, right?
Yeah.
So Eddie's my business partner.
And we're talking about Eddie Malouf, right?
Eddie Malouf, yeah. So it'll be good to kind of share. So what I get from the culture index is 2 things, right? Let me just minimize this thing here. All right, perfect. So what I get is 2 things. What their nature is and how they feel like they need to be in the role, okay? So Eddie, let me explain this, how to interpret this, right? Forget about the bottom part for now. Let's look at the top part only. This red line is 0. That's the average, right? On the right is high, on the left is low. And this 0 to 10 is just like a ruler, right? So 1 standard deviation, 2 standard deviation, 3 standard deviation, 4, 5, 6. So Eddie is 6 standard deviations higher drive than the average person, okay? This is social ability, B, social ability. So he's, 1, 2, 2.5 standard deviations, introverted. 2.5 standard deviations, impatient. And then, 1 standard deviation, low detail. And then, energy units, 34, right? And when you see that the energy units between your nature and your job haven't changed much, you can see really the only difference is here, right? Maybe a little bit here. It tells you that you're congruent. What you're doing with what you think you need to do to succeed in your role is very similar, right? You want it to pretty much match. Now, logic is actually on a scale of 1 to 10. So he's 8 out of 10 logical. So this is why I can call Eddie, tell him anything, and I know he's never going to get offended. And then on the inventions, he's a 5. So, and again, inventions, I really haven't seen many use cases for it, except 8, 9, 10, you're scatterbrain. Now, what does this translate into Eddie? Eddie is insanely driven, introverted, so he prefers text over calls. Even though he does a ton of calls, he probably prefers text. He's impatient, so he likes to move fast, likes to get shit done, and he's selectively detailed. So if it means that he can win, he'll be detailed. Now, as you can see here, in his job behaviors, he thinks he needs to be more like high detail to succeed, which makes sense. He probably feels a sense of like, hey, when I haven't been so detailed, things have gone wrong. I missed this agreement, or I didn't do this thing, or I didn't do that thing. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. I don't know much. But like, this makes a lot of sense. And to me, like, this is Eddie, right? And I'll show you me, right? So, because I'm going to show you like how people relate to each other. So, this is me, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4 standard deviations how I drive. So Eddie's more drive, but here I'm extroverted. I'm insanely impatient. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, I need things done last week, and then I'm high detail. So when you put these two people together, you get a really good combination of someone who can drive more, and then pass it on to someone who has that extra detail to build. And then after that, you need someone like my COO, right? So like I was explaining. Right? So my COO now, you can see how her detail is way higher than mine, right? Still very, very highly driven person, still impatient, but more detail, more follow through, better than me in the follow through. And she feels in her role that she needs to drive less and have more follow through, more detail, which makes a lot of sense, because when you're working with someone like me who's going 1,000 miles an hour and impatient, you're not trying to drive any hard, like she is driving, right? She's a very hard driver, but she's actually more concerned with, hey, let's make sure that the projects Mina are opening are actually being closed. The things aren't breaking, that we're not missing anything. You know what I mean? Because I'm already, going fast. So, this will change versus like who you're working with, et cetera, et cetera. But this is a perfect kind of example. Now, even here, we can go into the org chart and let's see. Yeah, let's look at this one.
And so the culture index is essentially something that already exists, right? But it's different than like a regular personality check.
Oh, dude, nothing like it exists. This is 91% accurate, okay? Everything else, the highest second place is 54% accurate. So it's a coin toss. This is 91% accurate. So 9% of the time, I'm wrong, and I will 1,000% take those odds every single day. Because if I can predict everyone's behavior, 90%, 91%, dude, this is as good as it gets in the real human world, And so this is where you start to see, now we're building the culture index, and you can see also we have placeholders for people that we want. But starts with me as the CEO. Then I have my life manager, Clara. She's basically handles my executive assistant, personal assistant, travel, everything assistant. And then you have COO, right, which is Maureen, my other right hand. And then under her, you see she has an operations manager that we're trying to fill, and then 3 operations associates. So you can see here, you go on the left side, you have customer success, you have 2 customer success people. Under them, they're each managing, a bunch of different strategists. Then you have the Alina, who's like I guess she's like a, head of operations, manages multiple teams. She has a graphic design team, catalog team, reviews team, data analyst team, recruiting team, graphic design team. And then you have the head of content, Brandy, under her, the different people. So this is where you can start to like dive in and say, okay, how do people behave with each other? Where do we have issues? Where do we not have issues? And what's each person's role? Head of content, is this how we need them to look? Paid media buyer, is this how we need them to look? YouTube creator, is this how we need them to look? Social media manager, is this how we need them to look? So you start looking at how this role should be, how this person actually is, and then how do they interact with their colleagues who are on the same level of them, below them, and above them, right? And when you're on the same level as someone, it could be as simple as like, hey, let's say Lazaya, I know that you love to talk. Brandy and Candelaria don't like that. So just please communicate with them more via Slack, right? Something like that. Because they're kind of on the same. And then, you can have someone like who's a high detail managing a low detail person. And if this is like a role that needs detail, she's constantly fixing their work. You'll start to see the friction and say, Mina, like I've been working with Lazaya for a while. Everything she gives me has a ton of mistakes. I'm having to do all this extra work to make sure that it even works. This is not working out. And here's the final piece of the puzzle. This is not set in stone, dude. So a good example is accountant. Like I would say, okay, what does an accountant need to look like? Well, very driven, introvert, extrovert, I don't care, impatient, and very highly detailed, more detailed than drive. I could hire that person, and then maybe because of the impatience, I realized that maybe they're making mistakes. So maybe I'm like, okay, so maybe I was wrong about this role. Let's test something different, Or like there's so many examples of that where it's like you kind of feel like you know a certain role, right? And you're like, okay. For example, I've had 2 life managers, more, but like recently. Clara is an architect, so her drive is more than her detail. Holly was her detail was more than her drive. Everything else was the exact same thing, right? And seeing the behavior of someone whose drive is more than their detail or their detail is more than their drive, now I'm starting to draw conclusions. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I thought that I needed someone whose detail was more than drive, because if you look at me and Clara, we kind of have similar. High drive, impatient, she's introverted, I'm extroverted, so I just try to tell her like, hey, whenever I talk to you, always have your computer open, always be taking notes, because you know that I'm going to blabber, and if you don't write it down, you're not going to absorb anything. So just be a note taker every time I talk. And then, I'm like, let's see what it's like to have someone who's high drive more than detail versus high detail more than drive. And what I realized was, I actually benefited a lot more having someone high drive more than detail, because they tend to be way more resourceful, like problem solvers, critical thinkers. They kind of like care more about winning, right? Versus, very high detail person is like very conforming. So they care a lot about doing things right and perfect. And I'm like, dude, sometimes perfection can hold us back. And when I'm managing different businesses, 8 different businesses, family office, this, that, like a bunch of different shit, I'm like, dude, I need someone who is like with me as a builder. So what I'm thinking is eventually she's going to get really good, but she's going to be doing mundane tasks. And then we're going to hire, someone like Victoria, who is, again, you can see, I'll zoom in here so you can see it a little bit better. But their detail is more than their drive, right? And then that person, we can put them under Clara and have her delegate the tedious bullshit to them, while we can focus, me and her, on like we're managing everything, doing everything right? And obviously there's a million nuances to it as well, but that at a gist, like I've showed you kind of the charts and everything, but this is the culture index. How someone is, how they relate to the role, how they feel like they need to be to succeed at work, making sure that there's congruence, make sure that they match the role, make sure that they know how to work with the people next to them, above them, below them, and then a constant improvement process. If we ever hire someone who matches the culture index but did not succeed in the role, so I just hired a controller. Her culture index was similar to mine, which is like basically the drive was more than the detail. I worry a lot about those people because they're like me, and I know that I am a person that gets bored a lot. So if I get bored, I'm like, someone in finance. I don't know if I want someone that's going to get bored. Architects, people like me, with this personality type, they have a lot of difficulty working for other people. They're very like, leave me alone. I want to do my own thing, and that can be problematic. Versus you never see it with someone who, Maureen's not a perfect example, but like if her drive was a little bit lower and her detail was a little bit higher, someone whose detail is ahead of their drive, you never feel that. You never feel like they're trying to, I'm going to do my own thing. They're very good at partnering with you and saying, okay, cool, I'm going to make sure this shit gets done perfect. So I took a risk and we hired an architect to manage the finance division, and it failed because it was every single time I would say, hey, do this, this, and that. She would say, okay, cool. She would do her own thing. I'm like, dude, we're getting nowhere here. And so now, if I'm going to hire someone in the finance division, I will for sure make sure that their detail is significantly higher than their drive. And I don't want someone that's insanely, I just want someone that high drive enough to be proactive, to be asking the right questions, to be saying like, this doesn't work. Like why are we spending here? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? But I don't need someone that's like, yo, I want to be a free bird. You know, I want to do my own thing. I want to build my own shit. Like this is the perfect person to kind of be in the middle of like, you know, put them as a leader of a division that is sitting there and you know, the people under them are all getting the work done and they're constantly saying, come on guys, we got to push harder. How can we be better? What can we do differently? What's a new thing that we can build that will make our business better, that is going to make us more money? That's where they should sit. But when you put them somewhere where you need things to be tight, control, like in a COO role, they would never work out as a CEO. They're perfect for a CEO role. And that's where, you know, it's a mix of like, okay, what you think the role needs versus now we're starting to get experience. First life manager, she was you know, a tech expert. First, actually, my one before her, she was low drive. Low drive, very extroverted. The rest was fine. Or she was also low detail. So the drive didn't matter that much because I was always telling her what to do, fine. But the low detail killed me. And also the extroverted, dude, she would get on the phone with me and like, oh my God, and it would be 30 minutes. She's telling me the story. I'm like, dude, stop talking. I have no
And you
time
don't
for
think that's something you can improve on and change on someone? Like the
this.
way
Yes, of
that
course.
they talk, the way that they do different things? Like do you feel like it's just like a pawn sort of game where they're just gonna act like their natural behavior and they won't be able to adapt? Like based on your experience, how do you feel about that?
Based on my experience, everyone can go against their nature. It never works out. Because it's like you're going against your nature, dude. It's like the elephant in the tree. Sure, you know, they're going to try and they're going to do everything to please you because you're their boss and whatever. But bro, come on. What if I got a fucking monkey? Like imagine, so why are we even doing this? Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, why am I even saying, oh, you know what? You're a talker. Like, please talk less. Bro, why are you even doing that? Like, go become customer service. Blabber and make everyone love you and talk, and you're doing it bullshit anyways. You're just trying to make people happy, right? So that's the thing. It's like at the end of the day, okay, can I change someone against their nature? Cool, right? And that's fine. But like, what if I got someone that's their nature matches the role? How much better will they be? And so the question becomes, are you just trying to make this shit work? Right? Are you trying to make everyone that you already have work? Or you're looking for the best people in the world, the top talent, to put them in the exact position that they're going to thrive and then invest in them so you can have exponential results. Like that's the difference. Like what are you trying to do?
I have I have two questions that came up as I'm listening to this. Now, number one, is this a list of questions? Is the culture index a list of questions that people, like a survey, they answer and then you get their profile? Like they answer and then you get the graph?
Yeah, so let me actually show you. All right, so this is what it looks like, right? Culture index survey. This is a survey. You take it in your native language. Let me put my phone number, email, first name, last name, whatever. Okay. So, whatever, there's no pass or fail, obviously. Now it says, describe who you are. And it shows you all of these different terms. So I'm self-confident, I'm comfortable, I'm strong-willed, sociable, modest, whatever, insightful, ambitious, popular, at ease, structured, I'm just going through any keyword that I feel like matches me, I'm gonna choose it, right? And so whatever, I do a bunch. Let's see, go to the next page. Now, describe how you should behave at work. So check those words that describe how you must behave to be successful in your current position. So this is the job one now. So let's say, resourceful, supportive, resolute, careful, intelligent, commanding, efficient, opportunistic, innovative, precise, systematic, attractive, whatever. Let's just put a bunch of different self-confident, popular.
Okay, so you just filled that out.
Done. That's it.
That's it. That's super fast.
No, yeah, but I mean, obviously, you have to choose. You have to go through every single keyword and choose every single one that applies to you. Yeah. So
Okay.
I rushed it in front of you guys, but this is 2 pages, and if you are careful and select all the words that really match who you are, and it's crazy because you want to know the craziest part, dude. So I had a sales guy hit me. I mean, I got connected, right? I have a partner. He connected me with a sales guy. He's like, Mina, you're gonna love this guy. Like, talk to him. I'm like, okay, cool. Talk to him. I'm like, okay, listen, you sound great. Like, you have to fill this culture index before we can even work together. Perfect. He fills it out. I'm like, dude, unfortunately, the culture index survey is not a fit. And he's like, no, let me do it again. I was rushing it. I'm like, okay, cool. He did it again. I'm like, bro, it came back the same result. He's like, no, okay, give me one more chance. Okay, because they tell you like you can't hack your answers. He did it one more time. He's like, dude, I'm 1,000% I'm gonna pass this time. And I looked at him, I'm like, dude, can I show you something? Took a screenshot. His 3 submissions, exact same results. I told him, you know what? Do it again. Do different name, different email, different phone number, different birthday, different role, so that like in case like there's some sort of conspiracy theory he did everything different, exact same result. I said, look, he's like, fuck it,
So
so yeah.
so when you have the like the maps, right? The how do you call it? Like the graphs. When you have the graphs mapped out of a row, like do you create the graphs based on what you think the row needs, or do you already have some existing like sort of industry standards for a role? Because I know that you adapt as you go and as you work with someone, you're like, I want somebody with a bit more drive, whatever. But like if somebody's starting out, how did they approach it?
Yeah, so very, very good question. First of all, it makes you take something called like the C questionnaire or something, C survey. But what it is you get 3 people in the company, or more. You, the manager of the person actually doing that role, whatever, 3 people. And you're like, describe, choose these keywords that describe this person. And I think it's like 1 to 10. This person needs to think critically. 1. To 10, sorry. This person needs to be daring. 2. This person needs to be very analytical. 8. And so we all answer, and based on our answers, it says, the computer says, this is what we think you should do. Now, that's one way. Other thing is, I immediately talk to the guy that I hired, right, the franchise guy, that I pay him, and that's part of the package, right? He's supposed to be consulting me, and I tell him, dude, like based on your knowledge of other agencies and other businesses, whatever, I'm hiring like a video editor. What's acceptable for this role? Because I'm like, dude, does a video editor need to be high drive? Is he editing videos? If he's too high drive, maybe he's gonna be like, yo, I'm bored of this shit. Do they need to be actually high detail? Because like high detail, maybe yeah, they're gonna do good with the editing, right? But maybe low detail, they're more creative because they're like less conforming. So I'm like, I don't know. Like from your experience, what have you seen? So this is where being with that guy plus being with other friends, other agency owners who are similar to you, who have been using it and have tried. And it's like, we hired, like I did it. That guy that I told you brought me on to the culture index. I texted his COO and I'm like, hey, send me the culture index of all of your top video editors. Boom, boom, boom. I'm like, how good are they? He's like, they're phenomenal. I'm like, any issues? Perfect. All have the same. I'm like, okay, we're gonna go with this because clearly there's a track record here. So that is how I approach it. More of a practical way. You could go through the survey. There's different ways to go about it, really. And again, at the end of the day, it's also that the like, hey, this person didn't work out. Like, hey, consultant, this person didn't work out. This is the issues. It's like, okay, you could probably anticipate it in this. So let's try that next one being a little bit different. So having that community and constantly talking about it, and also having the consulting, that really helps.
That's awesome. And how long have you been using the Culture Index for?
Dude, I want to say, I mean, they just billed me for my 2nd year. So I would say maybe a year and 4 months, maybe a year and a half.
Yeah.
It changed
And
my life. It changed my life.
how did you grow? Sorry, go ahead.
I said it changed my life. It changed my life. Like it changed my business. It is the best thing that's ever happened to me in my business.
Wow.
And I don't make any money from this. Like there's no affiliate commission. I tried to even get affiliate commission. They wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't get any benefit, but like it really changed my life. It changed how I approach relationships, friends, family, networking. It changed everything because when I understand how you are as a person, you're a person that likes to talk, for example. I'm like, dude, if I want to build rapport with Joao, I'm gonna call him or I'm gonna send him voice notes. If you're a texter, I'm gonna text him. If you're like, whatever, like if you're a very conforming person, maybe I'm not gonna talk to you about certain things or maybe if you're a low detail person, I'm gonna expect that you're gonna make some mistakes with the details. I'm gonna be like, it's okay, man. Like I know he's low detail, it's not a big deal. So. It helped me understand my parents and my sister and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, it helped me build a better relationship with other people. So it really, from a business standpoint, from a personal standpoint, has been pretty impactful.
And so is this so this is a service, right? Like how does it work for somebody, like let's say an agency owner is listening to this, how did they get into it and start using it?
Okay, so drop my email somewhere. It's mina@triviumco.com. I'll connect you to the Sumit. So again, remember, different franchise owners. There's 120 or 40 of them. You could talk to any one of them. I can only recommend my guy because I've used him, and I'll connect you to him. So basically, the software and service is $9,000 a year, and then in the first year you have to get trained and certified, and it costs $2,000 per person. So if I attend the training, and it's an in-person training, if I attend the training, it's $2,000. If I bring my recruiter with me, $2,000. So for me, it was me and one person, and we paid $9,000. So $13,000 the first year, and then it went back down to $9,000 every year after that.
Okay. Before the culture index, how were you hiring before the culture index?
Everything was the same, except, we were like, this is how the funnel works, right? Ads and outbound. People come in, fill out a form, we look at their answers, makes sense, look at their resume, makes sense, get them on an initial HR call, da-da-da-da. Now, they fill out the form and the culture index. If they're disqualified from culture index, my recruiter doesn't even look at it. So it made my recruiter's life a lot easier. Harder and easier. Harder because she needs to source more. Easier because she's only looking at a fraction of the people, because if they pass it's pass or fail culture index. So if you're not the right fit for the role, we don't even look at you. And so that's how it's changed the recruiting process. But my success rate in recruiting went from I want to say a 30% success rate to a 95% success rate.
And how many people did you add to the team since you started the culture index? Because you're at 93 people right now, right?
Yeah, more. The med spa has 5-6 people. This other recruiting business has 2 people. So it's there's other businesses too. But I would say I've replaced, while using the culture index, at least 50-60 roles.
Okay.
Yeah. So that 93 number is kind of steady, but we've flushed out all the non-fits and the bottom performers, brought in the right fits, and my business with the same workforce, actually we downsized a little bit too, and with the same or smaller workforce are making way more profit. Yeah, that's
so
the power of having
that
amazing people,
it
dude.
definitely pays for itself in your opinion, right?
Yeah, exponentially. Paying for itself is not even in the question, bro. It's if you give me a number of the ROI per year, 100x ROI. You know what I mean? You can't quantify having the right people. Having the right one person alone in your company can make a massive difference. Having all the right people, and here's one thing I want to talk about too. You heard me talk about this in Agency Founders, but before the culture index, dude, I would walk into my company. If you guys haven't gotten my personality yet, very aggressive, okay, very go, very high standard for performance and excellence, and I have no emotions. I say shit direct, and so people's feelings were getting hurt left and right. And dude, I'm like, dude, am I a bad manager? Am I a bad leader? Da 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 da. Like, I would look at the culture I would look at the culture in one of my partner's businesses. I'm like, man, this is such a soft, fun, everyone loves each other, family type shit. I hated it, but I'm like, is this what I need to do? Then I realized, no, it's not, right? I'm this guy, and all I needed was more people like me and that matched my personality, right? And so when you go look at my business partner's company, right? He's a soft, like, family and all this and happy, and and all of his people, but like, yo, my team crushes your team. You know what I mean? And so that's when I'm like, bro, the LA Lakers, right? You're from Brazil, right? The Brazil soccer team, Barcelona, Real Madrid, like any top sports team in the world, bro, they're not happy family type shit, bro. If you're not fucking performing, right? It's cutthroat. If you're not performing, you're cut. You get the fuck out. We're buying someone else. Done deal, right? And so I'm like, why am I changing my standards to stupid bullshit when I could actually create a team of like top performers, killers? That I'm a top performer, I'm a killer. If I just had everyone to be similar to me, and like my COO, bro, like there's no one in the world that I feel like is in my head more than her and pushes me. Like I'm like she gives me shit. I'm like, fuck, bro, I'm slacking. My COO makes me feel like I'm slacking. You know what I mean? Imagine that. Versus before, oh, the soft and family, and I'm always like, come on, like we gotta do more, guys, and I feel like I'm being too pushy. So that is another thing that we're not even considering, right? Like, once you know who you are and how your culture index is, and then you start bringing people similar to you, okay? I'm not saying like similar skill set, but I'm just saying similar personality type, right? Then it's not a problem. You know what I mean? And like think about, you're from Brazil. You've seen the gyms where the trainer says, fuck you, you pussy, get up, bitch. Like this type of training, right? In America, you have two groups. The people that are gonna be like, oh, this guy sucks, blah, blah, and leave. And then you have the people that are like, yo, this is me, right? Me, I want my coach in the gym to yell at me like that. That's what that fuels me, that pushes me. I have no hard feelings against him. I'm like, if I'm not being called a bitch, you're not pushing me hard enough. That's basically how I feel. And so when you go to that gym, and then you look at the people around you, they're all fucking killers, right? And then you go to the other gym, and it's like the hobbyists. And so at the end of the day, it's like, it's just one more thing to say, okay, now you're picking the right people that fit the role, that are doing what's congruent to their personality type, that also match you and match your energy. Like the business you're starting to build is going to be significantly different than the one that's like a bunch of people that are mismatches.
Yeah. And so for the agency owners that are super pumped to get this going for themselves, right? For their agencies, for their business even, how many employees would you say that it makes more sense to start
Well, the
this?
second
'Cause
you
you
can
obviously
afford.
didn't.
The second, okay, it doesn't matter. The second that you can afford it, do it. Okay, if you have 2 employees and you can afford it, do it, because it's going to be the best investment you make. It's $800 a month or whatever when you break it up. But like the second that you can do it, all of a sudden, every single role you bring into the company is exponential growth, right? Versus, bro, I was gambling. I was like, my first employee, I got him randomly somewhere, right? It was actually, I used someone on Fiverr. He said, I have a friend if you want, but he doesn't have any training. I trained him. Then this guy brought his college friend, and then it was bullshit. And then I started posting on job boards, and I would get these people, and I'm constantly gambling. Okay, the resume looks good. They passed the stupid test that I made, and then 4 or 5 months later, they suck. 4 or 5 months. Come on, like, imagine. I'm telling you, this is how my life was before it. So it was like, hire someone, and I had a very rigorous process. Again, fill out a form. Then you have to do like a Loom video explaining who you are and all this stuff. I look at the resume. Then we do an HR interview. Then I would do a technical interview. Then I would do a test. Then I would do a final interview. And then we would hire them. And then they would not work out. And I'm like, okay, like, how much does that cost you? Cost you less than $9,000 a year? No way, bro. Come on, it's gonna cost you more. So the second that you can afford it, I would do it. I wish if I were to go back in time, bro, I would be running Miami by now. If I did it when I started my businesses.
Let's go.
I will. It's gonna come soon.
Well, you're not far from running Miami, right? You're already
I
like
hope
in
so.
a nice penthouse with a big ass team and a lot of wisdom and drive. Now, Mina, tell me, like, I know that you just dropped like this insight, right? It sounds like this is the advice that you'd give to your younger self, but I still want to open it up for you to, for anyone listening and starting out, if they're like in the 10 to 30K range a month, right? They're still like growing their agency and they really want to crush it. What is the advice that you have to give them?
Yeah, great question, man. So I'll give you my formula that's worked for me, right? After a lot of pain and trial and error. So first of all, you have to become the top 1% in every single thing you do in your business, right? Forget about this whole concept of hiring people who are better than you. There's one perfect example, right? You go to a car mechanic, he's better than you. He understands the car, you don't understand shit about the car. How many times do you get scammed at the car mechanics? Every single time, right? This is what's gonna happen to every single piece of your business. So you have to basically become a mechanic, as good as a mechanic in every single part of your business. Now, you don't need to be doing it, right? You just need to know it so well that you can hold everyone accountable. And I've learned this lesson again and again and again. So start there, right? And how do you get there? Like, okay, shit, I gotta get good at sales, marketing, fulfillment, client success, operations, finance, recruiting. Perfect. You first of all benchmark yourself on all of these different things. So you're like, okay, here's where I am, right? In these things, here's where I want to get. Right? I want to be so good at finance that I understand how to create a profit and loss statement really good. I know how to categorize my expenses, build a budget, have budget versus actual, be lean on expenses, have like very low accounts receivable, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So where you are right now, where you want to be. Then you go and find people who are top of their game in that thing, consultants. You're like, hey man, my name is Mina. This is where I am in finance. This is where I want to be. Can you help me get there? Can you teach me? They'll say, you interview 4 or 5 people, you're gonna see who you vibe with the most, perfect, and you start paying for consulting. You pick one thing, they get you better, 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 better. As you're learning, okay, you're now understanding the thing, you start to create systems and processes. Start with a process flow map. This is how the things need to happen and flow so that they can run successful in that division. Then you build SOPs, so a standard way of doing these things. And the beautiful thing is, because you're learning, you can actually sit there and do it once in front of the guy well, and that's going to be your standard operating procedure. When you bring someone in, you bring an expert, someone who's better than you at that thing. But guess what? When you have conversations with them, you're going to know exactly everything they're talking about, and you're going to know how to hold them accountable. Start there, right? So every single category of your business, you have to be top 1% in the world at that thing, right? And then you bring the top 0.1% in the world to operate that while you are able to hold them accountable. Step number 1. Step number 2, you need to run it like a sports team. So build a scoreboard. First of all, if you don't know where you're going and it's not being measured, you're not going to go anywhere. And it doesn't even need to be like super realistic, whatever. Start simple. Start with a company goal. What profit? For me, it's profit and churn, right? Because an agency. So profit and churn. Now take each division and put the division-specific goals that lead up to the company goals. So for example, for marketing, I need 150 qualified leads a month, and I need my average cost per lead to be this much. Example, right? Sales, I need 80K MRR closed per month, which is about 20 closed deal, which is about 80, showed appointments, showed calls, which is a 30%, 25% close rate. Perfect. Average $4,000 average order value. These are my numbers. Okay. So now I have the company score. Like that's what that's my score on the wall. I'm playing a basketball game. That's the number, right? And then each division, they have their own basketball game. That's the number. And then one step under that, very simple, activity tracker. Activity tracker basically tracks what you're doing to achieve that number. For example, sales. Our goal is 95% under 5 minutes speed to lead. That's one activity. Another one is, sending 50 outbound SMSs a day. Just example, because we're trying to book appointments, right? Or book calls. And so I will measure the activity, right? And I will measure my score and see if it's improving. And if it's not, I'll say, okay, let's go to like 70 outbound calls a day, right? Outbound SMS, whatever. And then see if that score changes. If the score changes, we have found a lever that we can pull. And you pull more on that lever until it doesn't work anymore. If you change it and you're actually looking at it from a quality perspective, and it's not like Joao following up here. Okay, if it's like, okay, we tried Joao following up here. Hey Joao, I saw that you downloaded this thing. Did you get it? Fine. You tried different things. volume and quality, and it doesn't work, okay, let's test a different lever. You go, you find a sales expert like Rex, in agency founders or anyone else, any 1 million of them, and you're like, hey bro, this activity I'm doing, this is the score. How can I get more book calls? Have you tried this? Have you tried this? Okay, perfect. Now we have a new thing that we can try. Go, try it, and start measuring. Look at the levels, try different qualities, and see if it changes the scoreboard. This is my advice for everyone. If you do this, and use the culture index, bro, you're gonna scale.
Now that's powerful. Can you tell that Mina is an engineer and a machine? He's just dialed up and optimizing every aspect of his life. You ask him for an advice, he gives you a book. So that's Mina for you guys. Good thing that this has been recorded. It's going to be in YouTube if you're watching, or in Spotify. So you can just go back and go back and go back until you can write down everything that he just talked about. He basically just walked you through all of the processes, essentially a lot of the processes to, set the foundations and start scaling your agency. This is what works, guys. You got to get into every aspect of the business, map it out, test things. It doesn't work, you get consultants, you get coaches, and you're going to be on your way to scaling your agency like Mina has. Now, man, it's been amazing. Thank you so much, Mina, for the class. For everyone listening, make sure that you tap into Mina. And where is the best place to connect with you?
Yeah, so I would say Instagram at the Mina Elias is the easiest place to hit me up, and then LinkedIn Mina Elias, but Instagram's probably better.
All right, amazing. Well, I'm also linking that in the show notes, so if you want to connect with him, go ahead and check that out. And for everyone listening, make sure that you subscribe to Growth Lab Sessions if you found value, and so you never miss any episode. Thank you so much, guys. If you want to connect with me, hit me up on Instagram at Joao for more strategies to grow your agency, and I'll see you on the next one.